Welcome back. A few years ago, I was asked to give a presentation at a photography club about composition, and I felt like it would be a perfect time to revisit the content of that presentation and share it with you. So, welcome to the vivid world of photography, where every frame is a canvas and every moment captured is a potential masterpiece. Today, we embark on a journey into the art and science of composition. As we traverse this path, we aim not just to see, but to feel, not just to capture, but to speak without words. Behold the caverns of light and shadow, a natural cathedral carved by the hands of time. This photograph is not merely a play of colors and forms, but an orchestra of visual and emotional resonance. The composition here is deliberate, a choreography between the rugged contours of the canyon and the ballet of light that dances through it. Notice how the beams draw your eye, guiding you through the sinuous landscape. In photography, it is not just what you capture, but how you capture it. The undulating lines lead us on a journey, while the stark contrast of light and dark stirs a primal awe within us. This is the power of composition, to take the raw beauty that exists in the world and frame it in such a way that it commands attention and moves the soul. As we move forward, remember this image. Remember the way it makes you feel. Our goal is to harness this power, to compose our photographs for maximum visual and emotional impact. Let's explore how we can achieve such compelling imagery using light, lines, and the intrinsic stories of our subjects to create not just pictures, but experiences. Thank you for joining me, and let's begin. As we ponder upon the artistry of photography, let us consider a more fundamental question. Why do we take pictures? In this vibrant image before you, we see a young child immersed in a sea of green, her eyes unseen, yet her focus unmistakable. Through her lens, we glimpse the innocence of exploration and the profound beginnings of a storyteller. Photography is our bridge to the past and our gift to the future. It is a medium through which we leave our legacy, capturing fragments of our existence to be cherished long after we're gone. The images we create are the narratives we leave behind, stories etched in light and shadow. As artists and creatives, our photographs are our voice. They allow us to express what words cannot convey, to share perspectives uniquely our own. Each image is a stroke of our artistic vision, a reflection of the world through our eyes. And beyond expression, beyond legacy, we pursue significance. In a world inundated with fleeting moments, to capture one that resonates, that speaks to the human experience. That is our quest. This young photographer is more than a child. She is every one of us, seeking to find and to share that which is significant. So let's take our cameras, our tools of storytelling, and venture forth to find the stories only we can tell. To find our legacy, our art, our significance. Let's capture the essence of our journey through the lens, for in the end, we are all storytellers, artists, and seekers of meaning. With each photograph, we declare, "This is the world as I see it, and this is the mark I leave upon it." Now, let's explore how we can tell our stories with greater impact. how we can imprint our legacy on the canvas of time through the photographs we take. Now, let's delve into the principles that can elevate a simple photograph into a striking composition. Here, we have before us the mathematical heartbeat of nature and art, the rule of thirds, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden mean, and the concept of divine proportion. The rule of thirds is a compositional guide that suggests dividing the image into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, creating a grid. The points where these lines intersect are the sweet spots for placing our subjects, offering a balance that is pleasing to the human eye. Venturing deeper into mathematical harmony, we encounter the Fibonacci spiral or sequence, a series where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. This sequence manifests visually in the graceful curl of the Fibonacci spiral, often found in the patterns of shells, galaxies, and even the distribution of petals on a flower. The golden mean, or ratio, is the result of dividing a line into two parts, so that the full length divided by the longer part is also equal to the longer part divided by the shorter part. This ratio, approximately 1.618, is known as phi, and it's believed to create aesthetically pleasing proportions in art and architecture. When we apply these principles to photography, we align our work with a universal visual language, one that echoes the intrinsic beauty of the natural world. By using these guides, we create images that resonate on the subconscious level, engaging viewers not just with the subject, but with the very structure of the composition. As you frame your next shot, consider these timeless principles. Position your elements along these lines and curves, and watch as your photographs begin to breathe with a rhythm that speaks to the foundational design of the universe itself. Remember, these are not just rules, but tools that, when used thoughtfully, can create harmony, impact, and a profound sense of beauty in your visual storytelling. As we continue our exploration of composition, let's consider the spatial dance of elements within the frame. Balancing the foreground, midground, and background is akin to a maestro conducting an orchestra. Each section must play in harmony. The foreground is our introduction. It greets the viewer, inviting them into the scene. It's often where the story begins and should be compelling, anchoring the viewer's attention. A strong foreground element gives depth, providing a gateway deeper into the image. Moving toward the middle of the stage, the midground serves as a bridge between the foreground story and the background context. It is identifiable, connecting the elements, and often houses the main subject of our visual narrative. Then there's the background. It sets the scene and should complement, not compete with, your subject. Sometimes, clarity in the background is key to understanding the full context of an image. Other times, a dreamy bokeh with its soft, blurred quality allows the foreground to sing with clarity and focus. The art lies in knowing when to use each technique. A sharp background can provide context and tell a story of the environment, while a blurred background can isolate and highlight the subject, making it stand out and pop. Remember, the eye travels through a photograph much like a guest at a gallery, wandering from one point of interest to another. Your task as a photographer is to guide that journey, ensuring that each element is placed with purpose and that the overall composition feels both intentional and harmonious. So, as you look through your viewfinder, ask yourself, how do these layers interact? Do they create a path for the eye to follow? Is there a balance that draws the viewer in and tells the story you intend to tell? Keep these questions in mind and watch as your images transform into well-composed pieces of visual artistry. Now, the third principle in our photographic journey is the use of leading or converging lines and perspective, a principle that adds depth and directs the viewer through the narrative of the image. Leading lines act as visual pathways. They draw the viewer's eye into the photograph, toward the subject, or on a journey through the scene. They could be anything: a winding road, a stretch of fence, or even the shadows cast by the setting sun. Converging lines take this concept further, guiding the eye to a specific point where the lines meet, often creating a sense of distance and scale. Perspective, on the other hand, gives the photograph a three-dimensional sense in a two-dimensional medium. It provides a context, a sense of space and position. When used effectively, perspective can create a feeling of depth or make a two-dimensional photograph feel like a window into another world. As photographers, we manipulate perspective to enhance the visual impact of our images. By changing our vantage point, shooting from high above or down below, we can dramatically alter the story a photograph tells. This is the power of perspective, to shape the viewer's experience and interpretation of the scene. When composing your next shot, seek out lines that can serve as guides. Experiment with different angles and points of view to find the most compelling perspectives. Use these elements to lead your audience to captivate and intrigue, to draw them into the scene as if they were standing beside you, looking out into the world that you have framed. Let's keep in mind that these principles are not rigid rules, but tools at our disposal. Like any tool, the power lies in their use. With leading lines and perspective, we have the power to craft a visual journey, one that beckons the viewer to step inside the photograph and experience the world through your eyes. For our fourth principle, let's explore the captivating world of symmetry and repeating patterns in photography. Symmetry appeals to the human eye's innate desire for balance and harmony. It provides a sense of stability and structure in an image. When a scene is symmetrically balanced, it can invoke feelings of tranquility and formality. In photography, symmetry can be found in reflections, architecture, and nature. Imagine the perfect reflection of a mountain on a small lake, or the echoing arches of a grand cathedral. Repeating patterns, meanwhile, offer a visual rhythm that can be mesmerizing. Patterns can be found everywhere, from the intricate details on a butterfly's wings to the uniform rows of urban windows. These patterns can lead to striking compositions, especially when there is a break or anomaly that interrupts the rhythm, drawing the viewer's attention. Incorporating these elements into your photography requires a keen eye for detail. Look for symmetry and patterns around you. Consider how you can position yourself to capture these elements to create an image that resonates with the viewer's natural predilections for order and beauty. As you compose your next shot, think about how symmetry can add to the narrative you're trying to convey. Does a perfectly balanced scene reflect the story's mood, Or does a pattern provide a metaphor for the subject at hand? Use these principles not just for their aesthetic value, but to add depth and meaning to your visual storytelling. Remember, while symmetry and patterns can be powerful, they are most effective when used intentionally. They should complement the story you want to tell, not overpower it. Let's strive to find the symmetry that speaks to the soul and the patterns that tell a story, creating images that are as impactful as they are pleasing to the eye. Principle number 5 is viewpoint. This is a critical aspect of photography that often goes underappreciated, yet it has the power to entirely transform the narrative and impact of an image. The viewpoint is where you, the photographer, choose to shoot from. The angle, the height, the distance from your subject. It is about where you position yourself and your camera in the three-dimensional space around your subject. The decision of where to shoot from can alter the story you tell, how your audience connects with the subject, and the overall feeling conveyed by the photograph. Choosing a low viewpoint can make your subject seem grand and imposing, while a high viewpoint might diminish its presence, providing a broader context and sometimes a sense of detachment. A straight-on view can offer a sense of immediacy and intimacy, whereas an angled shot might create a sense of dynamism or tension. An unconventional or unusual perspective can inject excitement and interest into a photograph. It can challenge viewers' perceptions, inviting them to see the world from a fresh angle. This could be as simple as crouching down to see the world from a child's perspective, or as complex as finding a unique vantage point that reveals patterns and relationships invisible from the ground level. I often use this technique when I'm shooting with my drone. As you compose your next photograph, take a moment to consider your viewpoint carefully. Move around your subject, explore different heights and angles, and ask yourself, how does this viewpoint alter the story that I'm telling? How does it change the way the subject is perceived? What new perspectives can I offer the viewer? The key here is to experiment and not be afraid to try different viewpoints. Sometimes the most compelling image is just a matter of shifting your position and seeing the world from a new angle. So let's not just look at our subject. Let's look around. Let's look above it and beneath it, capturing images that tell a story as unique as the perspective from which they are taken. And remember, don't stop with your first shot. Try different perspectives while you're on location. Move around and you'll be surprised at some of the fun details you'll encounter. As we turn our focus to this image, behold the way viewpoint breathes life into the subject. Here we see an old John Deere tractor, not just as a piece of farm equipment, but as a character with a story to tell. Through the choice of low and up-close viewpoint, the tractor transcends its role as a mere machine. It becomes something more, a silent, stalwart guardian of the fields. This perspective invites us to look into what feels like the tractor's eyes, the headlights serving as a gaze meeting ours. It is as though we are having a face-to-face encounter with a giant. Its formidable tires towering like shoulders set against the vastness of the sky. This tractor is no longer just a tool of agriculture. It is a symbol of the heartland's strength and history, given an almost mythic status. The angle accentuates the tractor's features. Its grille, its exhaust pipe, standing proud, its strong build, all elements that from a typical perspective might seem purely functional, But here, they are given a prominence that commands respect, a monumentality that speaks of years spent working under the open sky. Viewpoint has transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. The unconventional angle forces us to reconsider something we might not look twice at. It encourages us to find the nobility on the work worn, the beauty in the utilitarian, and the soul in the inanimate machine. As you reflect on this image, think of how many stories go untold simply because we haven't shifted our viewpoint. Think of the countless narratives waiting to be discovered when we choose to look at the world from a different angle. Just as with this John Deere tractor, a change in perspective can reveal the extraordinary characters and stories hidden in the most ordinary of subjects. Now, our sixth principle is the rich and evocative trio of textures, color, and light. Each of these elements plays a crucial role in the tapestry of our visuals, and together they create a symphony for the senses. Texture brings a tactile dimension to photography. It invites the viewer to imagine the feel of surfaces, the roughness of an old bark, the smoothness of a pebble, the intricacy of woven fabric. It adds depth and detail, making images come alive as though they can be touched and felt. Color is the language of emotions. It can soothe or excite, harmonize or contrast. The use of color in photography can set the mood, draw attention, and convey meaning. It has the power to turn a photograph into a statement or a whisper, to infuse a scene with warmth or melancholy, energy or tranquility. Light is the magic of photography, the fundamental ingredient that shapes and defines every image. It can reveal or conceal, create a glow or a shadow, highlight a subject or cast it into silhouette. The way light interacts with the elements within the frame can create an entirely different atmosphere or emotion. When these three elements are skillfully combined, they capture not just images, but experiences. They invite the viewer not just to see, but to feel, to imagine the rough texture of a rocky cliff, to feel the warmth of golden hour light, or to be moved by the stark blue of a twilight sky. Think about how textures can tell a story of age or environment, how color can draw the eye or evoke a memory, and how light can transform the mood of a moment. As photographers, we have the privilege of using texture, color, and light to not just capture what we see, but to interpret and express it in ways that resonate with those who encounter our work. Let's be intentional with these elements. Let's harness the power to create photographs that don't just document, but deeply engage the viewer's interest and imagination. Principle 7 focuses on depth and depth of field, two pivotal aspects that give dimension to our images and draw the viewer into the heart of the scene. Depth in a photograph creates a sense of space, a journey from the near to the far. It pulls the viewer's eye through an image, from the detailed textures in the foreground, through the midground where the main story unfolds, to the distant background that gives context. It's like opening a window into another world, inviting the viewer to step in and explore. Depth of field is the range of distance within a photo that appears acceptably sharp. A shallow depth of field isolates the subject, making it stand out by blurring the background and sometimes the foreground. This selective focus directs the viewer's full attention on the subject, creating an intimate portrayal and minimizing distractions in the foreground or background. On the other hand, a large depth of field brings everything into focus, from the foreground to the horizon, allowing for a comprehensive view of the entire environment. Both depth and depth of field are artistic choices. They are tools that, when used with intention, can bring a photograph to life. They make images feel more real, more tangible, as if one could step right into them. They create an immersive experience, enveloping the viewer in the scene captured. As photographers, we have the ability to manipulate these aspects through our choice of lens, aperture, and camera position. We can choose to bring every detail into razor-sharp clarity, or to isolate a single moment in the sea of softness. When we're out in the field, let's think about the story we want to tell and how we can use depth of field to enhance it. Do we want to create a portrait that feels like a private conversation, or a landscape that invites exploration? The choices we make with depth and depth of field can transform a flat image into a dynamic one, enveloping our viewers in the scenes that we so lovingly capture. Now, eighth in our lineup of compositional principles is framing and cropping, two techniques that are essential in the art of visual storytelling. Framing within a photograph is using elements within a scene to create a frame around the subject. This can be anything: the overhanging branches of a tree, an archway, a window. Framing serves to draw the viewer's attention directly to the subject, providing a visual border that can add depth and context, like it's highlighting a quote in a book. It tells the viewer this is important. Cropping, on the other hand, is done post-capture. It allows us to refine the composition, often in the editing process, by cutting away parts of the image that don't contribute to the story we're telling. With cropping, we can remove distractions, adjust the aspect ratio, or even change the image's focus to make our subject more pronounced. Both framing and cropping are about focusing on what is essential. They help to declutter the image, removing extraneous elements that do not serve the purpose of the photograph. When used effectively, they can make our subject unmistakable, inviting the viewer into a more intimate and concentrated dialogue with the image. As we look through the viewfinder, let's think about how we can use the environment to frame our subject naturally, as I did here with the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Notice how the leaves around the perimeter focus our eyes and draw us into the tower. And when we sit down to edit, let's be deliberate about what we choose to leave within the borders of our image and what we decide to trim away. It's not just about what we include, it's equally important about what we exclude. Let's employ framing and cropping to ensure that our photographs are as clear and impactful as possible. After all, sometimes less is more, and simplicity can often be the pathway to elegance in our compositions. Principle number 9 introduces us to the play of light, backlight, and reflection, which are among the most potent tools in a photographer's compositional toolkit. Light is the essence of photography. It shapes our scenes, gives color its vibrancy, and dictates the mood of the image. With light, we can sculpt our subjects, highlighting textures and contours, and directing the viewer's gaze to the elements we wish to emphasize. Whether it's the golden hue of sunrise or the harsh shadows of a midday sun, light shapes the narrative of our composition. backlight, with its unique quality, brings drama and a sense of depth to our images. When light envelops the subject from behind, it creates a silhouette effect, or a halo of rim lighting that can make the subject stand out with striking contrast. It isolates the subject, drawing the eye and focusing attention squarely where we want it. Reflection, on the other hand, offers a poetic echo of the subject, providing a sense of symmetry and doubling the visual interest. It can turn a simple scene into a complex, intriguing composition. Reflections can be literal in the case of water or glass, or metaphorical, representing duality or introspection within the subject matter. These elements of light, backlight, and reflection can transform a photograph from a simple snapshot into a story. They can elevate the mundane into the sublime and reveal the unseen layers of our subjects. With light, we can carve out the lines of our story. With backlight, we can lead our audience to the heart of the scene. With reflection, we can offer a moment of contemplation, a chance to see the world turned on its head, like I did here in Yosemite. As we craft our compositions, let's consider how we can harness these elements to breathe life into our scenes. Let's use light to paint, backlight to emphasize, and reflection to intrigue. Together they harmonize to create images that are not only seen, but felt and remembered. Now, our 10th principle is color. It's one of the most expressive elements within the photographic medium. Color has the power to stir emotions, shape narratives, and create visual harmony within a composition. Colors can command our attention and influence our perception. Warm colors such as reds, oranges, and yellows can evoke feelings of warmth, passion, and energy. They can excite us and pull us into the image. Cool colors like blues, greens, and purples tend to have a calming effect, offering a sense of tranquility and peace. In the realm of composition, color serves not just as a backdrop, but as a protagonist. It can be used to highlight the main subject, drawing the viewer's eye directly to the point of interest. Contrasting colors create dynamism and tension, adding to the visual impact of the photograph. Complementary colors, those opposite each other on the color wheel, can enhance this effect, making each color appear more vivid when placed side by side. Color also has the power to set the tone of the story that we're telling. A muted palette can convey nostalgia or melancholy, while a vibrant spectrum can symbolize vitality and life. As we capture the world through our lenses, let's be mindful of the color stories we weave. Let's ask ourselves, what emotions do we want to evoke? What do we want our viewers to feel? Color is not just an attribute of light. It is a language all its own. It is up to us as photographers to use that language to create compelling narratives and striking compositions that resonate with our audience on a profound level. Now, Principle 11 is adding emotion and feelings to our images. This reminds us that the core of every photograph is the capacity to convey the human experience. An image infused with emotion transcends language and culture. It touches on something universally human, creating a bridge of empathy and understanding between the subject and the viewer. The emotions captured in a frozen moment, a joyful smile, a romantic kiss, a tearful goodbye, or a concentrated frown, can resonate deeply, evoking a visceral response from the viewer. Feelings are the intangible threads that connect us, and when a photograph captures genuine emotion, It can communicate more powerfully than words ever could. It's about capturing the spirit behind the eyes, the story etched into the lines of a face, the energy of a candid laugh, or the melancholy of a quiet moment. As photographers, our role is not just to see, but to feel, to look beyond the surface, and to capture the essence of the moments we witness. We aim to create images that don't just showcase the world, but also reveal the richness of human experience within it. Let us strive to imbue our photography with emotion, to seek those unguarded moments that offer a glimpse into the soul. In so doing, we create work that does more than capture attention. It captivates the heart. Remember, the most powerful images are often those that make us feel something profound, those that stay with us long after we've looked away, echoing in our minds and stirring our emotions. The 12th principle we delve into is contrast and tonal control, both of which are essential in defining the visual strength and clarity of an image. Contrast is the scale of difference between the dark and the light areas in a photograph. High contrast images with stark differences between light and dark tend to be bold and dramatic. They can create visual impact and lead to a more graphic composition. Low contrast images, where tones are more similar, tend to be subtler and softer, conveying a quieter and more harmonious mood. Tonal control, on the other hand, refers to the management of these varying shades of lightness and darkness within an image. It is the fine-tuning of the range of tones from the deepest blacks through the grays to the brightest whites. Mastery of tonal control allows for a dynamic range that can add dimension and depth to a photograph, guiding the viewer's eye and emphasizing texture and detail. Together, contrast and tonal control can elevate a flat and lifeless image to one that pulsates with life and depth. They help in sculpting the light, chiseling out details from the shadows, and showcasing highlights that give shape and substance to the forms within the frame. As we capture and edit our images, let's be conscious of how these elements affect the mood and the narrative. Let's consider how adjusting the contrast can change the visual message we are trying to convey, and how nuanced tonal control can refine that message to its purest form. Whether it's a high contrast monochrome that tells a story of conflict and strength, or a gentle landscape where the tones whisper a tale of tranquility, let's use contrast and tonal control to breathe life into our visions, to create photographs that speak with emotion and depth. Now, the 13th principle in our exploration of photographic composition is the suggestion of movement. This powerful technique brings a dynamism to still images, evoking the passage of time and action within a single two-dimensional frame. Even without motion, photography has the unique ability to imply movement. This can be achieved through techniques such as motion blur, where a moving subject is captured with a slight blur to convey the speed of movement against a sharp background. Alternatively, capturing a subject in mid-action, like a dancer in the height of a leap, or an athlete mid-stride, or my daughter-in-law at the Hotel del Coronado in San Diego, can freeze a moment of motion that the viewer's mind automatically animates. Suggesting movement in photography not only draws viewers into the image, but also engages their senses and imagination. It creates a narrative, a before and after, that happens outside the borders of the frame. The viewer becomes an active participant, filling in the story of what just happened and what will happen next. This principle is a reminder that photography is not just about capturing moments, but also about capturing the essence of change and progression. It's about using the visual language of motion to tell a story that is alive and full of energy. When composing your next shot, consider how you can employ movement. Look for the direction of action, the potential for change, and the way elements within the scene can guide the eye along the path of motion. Use the dynamic quality to create images that are not just seen but are felt, inviting your audience to experience the captured moment as if they were there, witnessing and feeling the action unfold. The 14th principle is the eyes of the subject, an element that brings an undeniable intimacy to any composition. The eyes are often proclaimed as windows to the soul, and this is true in photography just as it is in life. When the eyes of a subject are in focus and they meet the lens of the camera, there is an undeniable connection formed with the viewer. Whether it's the piercing gaze of a wild animal, or the sparkling eyes of a laughing child, or the eyes of this man that I captured in Italy one day. When we capture that eye contact, we capture a piece of their story and their life. Shooting at eye level is a powerful technique to bring authenticity and empathy to an image. It places us, the viewers, on the same plane as the subject, creating an immediate sense of relatability. We see the world from the perspective we engage with them on equal footing. Eye contact in an image has a magnetic effect. It draws us in and holds our attention. It's an unspoken invitation to a conversation, a challenge, an engagement with the subject's world. This direct gaze can evoke a spectrum of emotions, from comfort to confrontation, curiosity to contemplation. As we compose our images, let's not underestimate the power of the eyes. Whether our subjects are people, animals, or even inanimate objects given human characteristics, let's seek that level gaze. Let's capture those eyes that speak unvoiced words, that hold stories untold, that connect us instantly and deeply to the image. Through the eyes of the subject, we have the potential to create not just a photograph, but a moment of true connection. Let's make that connection as strong and as clear as possible, for it's in that connection that a photograph can truly resonate. Our 15th principle is about capturing and creating the unexpected. This principle plays on the human love for surprise and the delight that comes from encountering the unforeseen. A photograph that surprises can often be the one that stays with us the longest. It's the element of the unexpected that often captures our imagination, prompting a second look, a deeper interest, or a smile. This could be an unexpected juxtaposition, an unusual perspective, or a subject captured in a moment of authenticity or vulnerability. Being imaginative in our approach to photography means being on the lookout for the extraordinary in the ordinary. It's about being ready to capture those fleeting, serendipitous moments, or having the creativity to stage something truly out of the ordinary. An image that shocks or brings joy, or one that people can relate to on an emotional level, has the power to become iconic. Like the well-known photograph of John Lennon and Yoko Ono by Annie Leibovitz. Such images resonate because they often reflect a truth or a moment that is universally understood, yet presented in a way that is fresh and captivating. As photographers, it is our challenge and privilege to go the extra mile, to have the patience to wait for the right moment or the boldness to create it. Let's strive to infuse our portfolios with images that make people pause, think, and feel. Photographs that, because they surprise, become unforgettable. Remember, the unexpected doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It's up to us to listen, watch, and be ready to capture or create the moment that has the potential to become a lasting memory. Now, as we conclude our journey through the principles of photographic composition, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned and how we can apply these lessons to elevate our craft. From the rule of thirds to the suggestion of movement, each principle we've explored serves as a tool to enhance the visual stories that we tell in our pictures. We've delved into the depths of color and light, felt the pull of emotion and eyes, and embraced the allure of the unexpected. These principles are not just guidelines. They are the brushstrokes of the artist's hand, the writer's pen, and the composer's notes. Photography is an art form that allows us to freeze time, to hold on to moments that might otherwise pass unnoticed. By applying these principles, we not only create more engaging and creative images, but also weave complex, evocative narratives that resonate with our viewers on a profound level. Let us be mindful of the power we wield when we look through our lens. With each photograph we take, we have the opportunity to create something truly unique, to tell a story that has never been told in quite the same way. Whether you're capturing the grandeur of a landscape, the intimacy of a portrait, or the simplicity of everyday life, remember that your vision, combined with these principles, can result in something truly extraordinary. So, go forth with your cameras and your creativity. Embrace these principles as you would embrace the light that falls upon your subjects. Experiment with them, bend them, and sometimes break them, for it is through exploration that we find our style, and it is through expression that we connect with others. Your perspective is incredibly unique. Your stories are waiting to be told, and the world is eager to see them. Through your lens, the mundane can become magical, the overlooked can become central, and a single moment can become eternal. Let these principles that we've shared today be the foundation upon which you build your visions, and let your photographs be the legacy of the beauty and wonder you find in the world around you. I'll see you in the next video.